Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co, and this is To Back or Not to Back. We have a long video ahead of us. We're going to have a whole bunch of campaigns to go through. I'll have links and timestamps to everything down below. And as usual, if you're not familiar, To Back or Not to Back is the series where I go through all the active crowdfunding campaigns, most of the active tabletop related board game campaigns that I did not already cover in prior weeks or will be covering. And I cover a lot of crowdfunding campaigns in the To Back or Not to Back. That's the point of the series. And if you want to check us out over on Patreon, I have a series called Unfair and Unbalanced, which I've been doing for going on a year and a half now, where I take a look at those exact same crowdfunding campaigns and specifically try to take the very counter FOMO approach and try to convince you not to back all of those campaigns. And so if you're interested in saving money that way, well, I guess first you have to pay me a little money over on Patreon. So check that out if you're interested in that. And then lastly, we're going to go ahead. Let's talk about the fact that we have a new series we started. This is going to be, let's go ahead and hit that button over there. That is the question. Later this week, we're going to have That Is the Question, a new series that Meg started over on the channel, where we go over a bunch of the things from To Back Not to Back. Specifically, we go over your question, her questions about the games that we covered in the video, questions about crowdfunding in general, or questions on the That Is the Question that we covered from last week. So if you have any questions at all about any form of crowdfunding, make sure to go ahead and leave them on either That Is the Questions video or on this video, and we'll try to get to as many of those as possible. We're going to be doing that by this Wednesday, and the show will probably air Thursday or Friday, so it ends at the end of the week, but you need to get your questions in by Wednesday to guarantee, well, there are no guarantees, but there are more likely chances of having your question answered if you get to it earlier. And with all those out of the way, let's go ahead and talk about the fact that we start this video off with Cult of the Now. Cult of the Now is the series Cult of the Now is this segment in this series where we take a look at a currently available game. Crowdfunding is a lot of fun. Crowdfunding has a lot of fun games. We have a lot of campaigns today, including one that I backed way too much of, despite being much better at not backing games recently. We have a lot of games over on Crowdfunding to take a look at, but Cult of the Now reminds us that there are a lot of games available now. Now, for cheaper, without having to wait a year and a half, without having to wonder when it'll show up, if at all, without having to worry about the reviews and wondering if it's a good game or not because they've been out for a long time. And we have Referral, which has been out for a very long time and gone through like 7 different versions, and right now the most recent version is the Renegade version, which for $37.99 you even get pre-painted miniatures in that copy over there. So if you're interested in Referral, a game that is still the test of time about action programming and programming your little race robots around the board, it's a chaos, it's fun, it handles a bunch of player counts, and it comes with pre-painted miniatures, all for less than $50, which you wouldn't really get on crowdfunding. So a reminder that Cult of the Now, you can go ahead and get your hands on Referral from Miniature Market, not sponsored by Miniature Market, or by Renegade Games for that matter, or by Referral, or by anyone for that matter. Let's go ahead and start off, and before we do, I feel this video's got like 7 disclaimers before we start the video, or segments or things, but lastly, a reminder that I do work for Gamefound. As we go into this To Back or Not to Back video, a reminder that I took a job with Gamefound a little over a year ago. I've been doing this series for a little over 3 years, but just take that into account, any potential bias or factors, as we go through all the crowdfunding campaigns. And with that, let's go ahead and start off finally with not even the board games. We're not even up to the board games. We're starting off with board game adjacent, starting specifically with Tantrum House Season 10 Board Game Media. This is Tantrum House's current campaign. They do a yearly campaign. They have Season 10 over on Kickstarter, $13,000 raised out of a $15,000 goal. It's easily going to crush that. And you can go ahead and check that out if you want to buy any promos, any merch, any swag. They have a bunch of shirts that look great. They also have roll and write games that they've been working on as well. Print and plays. I'm not sure if they're print and plays or not, but they have various promos you can get your hands on. They have a bunch of fun shirts that look great over here. So you have this wizard over here. We have Hold On While I Math It Out, which I love. We have, no, not this one. I like the other one. I'm not sure if those are the rules. There are a bunch of these fun shirts. You can check out a variety of things if you want to support Tantrum House. If you get any value from the content in general, I'm a big fan, selfishly so obviously, but also not selfishly, both. I'm a fan of supporting content creators that you get value from, and so if you have gotten value from content from Tantrum House, if you continue to get value from Tantrum House, this is a good way to show your support. And with that, the next one's going to be the Tower, your best gaming accessory. We are still part of the Not Yet Board Games category over here, but for $17,000 raised, not for $17,000, with $17,000 raised, for around $170, I believe, 84 backers, and for $160, but it does go up depending on the price point and the tower you're getting. You can get this portable dice tower that also stores component trays, and so it's both in one box. You have component trays, they're all magnetized, they give you different options, and then you can go ahead and turn that tower into a dice tray as well, giving you a variety of gaming needs in one travelable box, or not really a box so much as a accessory. And then we have over here, we have Rollacrit's Messenger Bag of Holding. Speaking of accessories, and specifically speaking of accessories in which you can hold all the things, including that dice tower, and including all those promos you got from Tantrum House, and probably 2 or 3 games that you backed along with Robo Rally, you have Rollacrit bringing back the Bag of Holding. If you're not familiar, Rollacrit was started by the same people who originally did ThinkGeek, and if you're familiar with the original Bag of Holding over on ThinkGeek, this is that times 10. This is that with much more quality control. Supposedly, I'm not involved in the actual manufacturing, I'm just involved in the reading of the Kickstarter page and knowing how these things work. But a lot of things, a lot of features, you can watch this video. It's a pretty solid video to get you up to speed on what the Bag of Holding is. It's not going to be cheap though. It's going to run you wrong price point over here, $125 for the base tier, and it's going to go up if you want to get more stuff. If you want the adventurer tier, $185. That's going to be giving you a theoretically incredibly premium Bag of Holding with like lots of fun stitching, a little bag that pulls out to cover in the rain, you know, seatbelt level straps, a whole bunch of things that supposedly really hold up. They took the original concept of the Bag of Holding and they said, how can we make it better and how can we make it the best bag you will ever have, a bag that will last, I don't want to say a lifetime because they didn't say a lifetime, but let's just go with a very, very long time. That's going to be the Bag of Holding over on, well, Kickstarter from Rollacrit over here. Past that, I never actually had the Bag of Holding, so I don't know much about it past what I'm seeing in the video. But with 4,000 backers and $675,000 raised, there clearly is a large portion of people who are interested in this Bag of Holding from Rollacrit. And with that, we're going to move on to a few. Well, we got 2 cancellations and 1 campaign that should be canceled. We'll talk about them all in order, starting off with Vigilante Hidden Motives and Vigilante Reprint. Unfortunately, this one was canceled pretty quickly into the campaign. They just didn't have enough traction on this. This was the game Vigilante, as well as an expansion, Hidden Motives, to that game. And Vigilante is a bit of a hidden role game where you're trying to take down various baddies, but depending on your role, you have different objectives. Hidden Motives, I don't know a ton about it because I didn't have a chance to look into it a lot yet, but I do know that one of the things was making the 2-player better, and that is something that would be helpful for this game because the game really is a 3 to 5 player game and better at 4 and 5 players. But either way, there was not enough demand in this one, at least not right now, so Vigilante currently was cancelled. He's looking into what other options he has next as far as his next campaigns. It sounds like he's going to take a break from Vigilante and go to the next campaign or the next game, and then come back to Vigilante at a later date. But that's Vigilante Hidden Motives. Then over on Gamefound, we have The Wilderness, which is $22,000 raised, 100 backers, and the only reason I'm not particularly worried is because it doesn't look like it's going to fund either way. But when I say particularly worried, I mean that if this was funded, I would be warning people to walk away from this campaign. The practical reality is that The Wilderness right now has the creators going completely AWOL. They are not posting updates, they're not responding to comments, they're not at all present in this campaign, and so it's kind of like they launched the campaign and just disappeared. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what I don't know what's going on with the creators. I hope everyone's okay, but they've kind of you know, launched the campaign and just disappeared, which is not the best look. Granted, not funding, but you know, you can respond, you can engage, you can talk to your audience, tell them what's going on. It's totally okay for a campaign not to fund. That's not an issue at all. It is not the best when a creator goes completely AWOL, and as a backer, I would be concerned about backing this campaign at that point, except for the fact that it's not going to fund anyway unless something drastically shifts, so I'm not overly worried about there. That's The Wilderness, some funny stuff going on with just the complete dead absence of the creators. And then lastly, we have this one over here. Midhalla unfortunately canceled after raising $100,000 on a $21,000 goal. I've talked about this before in general, the idea, and there's a whole update. Basically, he needs a lot more than $100,000 to make it work, and even with the final 2 days funding, it's just not going to take it to a point where it's financially safe for him to go ahead and engage with it and hope for the best and hope there's enough, you know, for the prints, the miniatures, all the things involved in making a board game. It just wasn't going to be enough, which begs the inevitable question that will always be present. Why have a $20,000 goal if even at $100,000, even if the campaign that would have ended at $130,000, maybe $140,000, if you still weren't going to fund it, why do you have a $20,000 goal? This is something I've talked about in several videos. If I remember, I will link to a few of them down below, but also King of Average recently put out a video on this exact subject, and it's a regular good conversation to have. The sad, unfortunate reality is that the Kickstarter and crowdfunding ecosystem does incentivize highly, through the way it works, and incentivize highly putting a lower goal than your actual funding. If you put a $150,000 goal, you might struggle to even hit $150,000. But if you put a $20,000 goal, very often that initial surge of success and it's funded and all these things might cause your campaign to cross $250,000 easily, when if you put $150,000, it may not have even hit that. It is messy, it's unfortunate. Recently I put out a video of 10 crowdfunding tricks of the ways they lie to you, market to you, get to you. Sometimes it's lying, sometimes it's not lying. In the case of a lower funding goal, it is a lie. It is. and it's a lie that I'm uncomfortable with, but it's a lie that also does feel necessary. To me, it's a lie the same way MSRP is a lie, which is trickier because MSRP sometimes is real, but very often it's not the actual price point. There's lots of things that go on in life and in marketing that are messy and uncomfortable, and I don't like it. I don't like the reality. I don't like anything that... I don't like it. I just don't like it. I don't like the reality of saying, hey, it makes no sense for you to do it this way, but the way that does make sense to do it is a lie. I don't like that. But the practical reality is, if you are a creator asking me my advice, whether you should or shouldn't give your genuinely honest funding goal, I would have to tell you that while I don't like the concept of lying, the reality is that it doesn't make sense to put your real funding goal. And the practical reality that I've talked about again and again and again is it's so easy to get upset and angry at the creators who cancel their campaigns, but you don't realize how many people are actually putting the wrong funding goal, and you just never know about it because of the fact that they blow past that funding goal either way. It's a messy, uncomfortable truth. I'll try to post a link to the Kid King Ravages video, as well as maybe the most recent time I did a conversation on this. It regularly comes up. It is a regular issue. It is messy. It is unfortunate. I do not like it one bit. But it's the reality of crowdfunding, unfortunately. And it sucks because people who are crowdfunding, people who have been here for a long time, kind of know that, but they may or may not like it, but at least they know it. But if you're someone new to the system, it's very messy. One thing I actually talked about in my That Is the Question series when I was talking with Meg about crowdfunding, one thing I brought up is the nature of how crowdfunding is an interesting system because we're all used to the way it works, but it's bizarre. So for example, if you back a game on crowdfunding and it's, 8 months late, it's supposed to come in 8 months, and then 12 months from now it's not here, and somebody starts bringing up on a Facebook group how they haven't gotten their game, other people will be like, yeah, but it's only like 4 months past the deadline. What's the big deal, man? Like, just, chill out. Why are you being so upset about this game that's late? But if you bought something on Amazon and it showed up 2 months later, imagine everyone else trying to convince you that you're the crazy one. When you start backing games, you get into an ecosystem, you get used to the way it works, and sometimes getting used to the way it works doesn't mean that the way it works is okay, it just means we're used to the way it works. And so, messy, unfortunate conversation. That's going to be our long tangent around Midhalla. I wish all the success to the creator. It doesn't sound like it's currently coming back. It sounds like it's currently going into a jar to be pushed off to the side where maybe someday it'll come back, but it doesn't look like it's going to be coming back anytime soon, unfortunately. So I wish them the best, and sorry for anyone who is looking forward to the game. And with that, we're going to dive into the actual crowdfunding campaigns. It's a long intro to this video, but at least we have timestamps. That's what we have timestamps for. We have timestamps so you can jump to the relevant sections, so you can skip all the stuff that is not relevant to you, unless of course you put the video on in the background and you're hoping to jump around, but you found yourself way too busy. And with that, we have Battlecrest Year 2. Battlecrest Year 2 from Button Shy Games, 1,100 backers, $36,000 raised, 5 days to go. Battlecrest is the 2-player skirmish game that they have with only 18 cards, which once again is incredibly impressive from Button Shy. And Battlecrest Year 2 is going to give you more content, more heroes, more landscapes, more battlefields, as well as some playmats as well if you want those. Just be mindful of which playmats you get, because some of them only work with certain map setups. And then they have the universal playmat, which is less pretty, but will save you money because it works across the board, including theoretically for future-proofing against future content as well. So factor that in too, that the specific player mats will not work as well with future maps that come out for the system. But either way, Battlecrest is going to be a skirmish game where you have your hero, you have your companions, you have the terrain cards, and you're trying to navigate around trying to outplay your opponent in a 18-card skirmish game simulation kind of situation. That's going to be Battlecrest. I've played this one. This one wasn't as much for me. I found it a little fiddly, but if you look at the reviews for this one, lots of people really enjoyed this one. There's a bunch of things on the page, but obviously don't just look at things on the page. Those are the carefully curated selection of opinions, as opposed to if you go to BGG, especially for a game that already exists, you can get a much larger sense of, what people thought of the game. But that's going to be Battlecrest Year 2 over here. It's going to run you around $12 for the game. That's going to give you the additional $4 expansion and whatnot that others have to pay more for. And that's going to basically be Battlecrest Year 2. You also have an opportunity to get a bunch more things, including previous content, and pay more for various pledge levels. If you do want to wait for retail, it will be $12 on their site, still with shipping, but without getting that free expansion. So in general, the should you back or should you not with any Button Shy game is almost always the exact same, which is these games are cheap enough that they likely will not hold their value if you're trying to sell them on your own. The nature of shipping, of dealing with it. Like Button Shy games, I never really sell Button Shy games. I usually just gift them on. I'm like, oh hey, there you go. Enjoy this. You're using good health. The hassle of trying to sell it is usually just not worth it. But as far as if you're looking for what your opportunity to get your hands on it yourself, your options are the secondhand market, where they aren't that common. Alternatively buying on the website, where you'll pay the same price point without getting the expansion, or getting it on Kickstarter now. So usually if you're interested, I'd recommend getting it on Kickstarter now. But of course, as an existing game, game, check out the reviews for the game, and see if it's one that feels like it's for you or not. From there we have Cosmic Cow Collectors, Pátzcuaro, and Neuroriders from the Testable Games, a set of 3 games over on BackGet. $19,000 raised, 391 backers, 5 days left to go. I'm only going to loosely go into these because they have 3 different games over here, but we have 3 different games. We have Neuroriders, Pátzcuaro, and Cosmic Cow, a game of wandering around the mind trying to connect different things in a puzzle. And for Neuroriders, we have Pátzcuaro, which is going to be a set collection game, and Cosmic Cow, which is going to have a degree of hidden role going on to it. Over here in Neuroriders, you are moving around, you're placing down these tiles and trying to navigate around these tiles in a puzzle experience. Cosmic Cow is going to have you trying to be mindful of your own, protecting your own secret planet while trying to deduce your rival's location. And this one is going to be a bit of a Mycelia style, moving around the board, trying to get the various cards, almost like a cross between Coco and Skulls of Sedlec, another Button Shy game, in terms of building a little pyramid of cards while trying to navigate around in a Mandala style, Mancala style, Mandala or Mancala? No, more Mandala than Mancala, I think, maybe? I think as you try to wander around the board and gather these various cards. There was a great quote from Grant Lyon, who I loved on this page over here. Grant Lyon had a quote on one of these games I just really appreciated, which was, if you like puzzly games, no, not that one, wrong game. We're looking for this one over here. Where's Pátzcuaro? From Grant Lyon, we have a testimonial that says, it's beautiful, it's bright, and it's got great gameplay. If you like the movie Coco, then you would definitely like this game. And if you don't like the movie Coco, then I don't trust you. So Grant is hilarious fun. He's a comedian and a board game reviewer. If you haven't checked out his content, please do so. But that's going to be these 3 games from the Testable Games, who I previously did Dodo's Riding Dinos, as well as a bunch of other games. Prices for this are going to run, I have to scroll back down to the back over here. Prices are going to run over here. For one game, it's going to be $25, and for all 3, it's going to be $49 plus shipping, of course, as well. As far as should you back or should you not on this one, in general, these games, smaller box games, this is going to fall into that category of a bunch of trio of games that are reasonably priced for what you're getting, but are unlikely to have enough demand down the road, especially with 391 backers currently back in the campaign. That means despite Dodo's Riding Dinos being incredibly successful, despite having a bunch of games in their belt, this particular bundle is not pulling in enough eyeballs, and that generally translates as well to the secondhand market. I'm skeptical you'll be able to get your money back on these ones. I think they're a bunch of small box games, and I think they're reasonably priced, but I don't think you're getting your full, price plus shipping back on these if these games don't work for you. I don't think there'll be enough aftermarket demand on them. Moving on, we have over here, we have 4 Horsemen, an apocalyptic co-op game, 354 backers, $52,000 raised, 7 days to go. But this is going to be a game of, well, trying to manage the apocalypse. Think of it as Pandemic meets deck building and managing the various cubes that are slowly spawning around the various regions of the board, as well as the 4 Horsemen that are slowly making their way to the center, trying to beat back everything as you go through placing relics onto the board. Every round, you're going to be placing relics in different locations, and then sacrificing 1 relic every single round while gathering new relics. So deck building, deck construction, a little bit of that going on in the game as you try to manage your powers and abilities, as you try to manage the various cards that are triggering the enemy flows and the spawning more cubes, moving the Horsemen, doing all the bad things. And then there's the base game for this, as well as I think there's 4 expansions, maybe 3 expansions, but a bunch of stuff introducing new heroes from around the world. The base game is going to have a bunch of Judaic/Greek heroes, and then the expansions are going to introduce, I believe they're Egyptian. Let's scroll through the page over here. So over here we have Greek and Judeo-Christian heroes over here from Paraffin, Raphael, Uriel, Hercules, Gabriel, all of those in the base game. You're going to have 114 unique relics, 172 in total. We have 62 4-player events, 62 solo events. We have 8 villains over here. The villains you're going to be facing off against, plus the 8 heroes like I mentioned already. You have miniatures in the deluxe pledge, so a bunch of that going on. And then you have dual layered hero sheets. I believe that's in the deluxe pledge as well only. Yeah, the deluxe pledge has dual layer player sheets, but the other one does not. And then from here we have the expansions. There's 3 expansions. We have Norse expansions, Norse heroes, including Heimdall and Freya and Thor, as well as we have some Chinese heroes, so including, I don't know the names offhand, I don't recognize, I know Thor and Heimdall, but either way we have these heroes over here. And then lastly we have the Egyptian heroes, including Horus and Bastet and Hathor, and I don't know Wadjet, I think it's Wadjet. But either way, that's going to be the various mythical heroes that are being added to the game. You can mix and match all this stuff, and there's a bunch of pledge levels. There's going to be the $66 base pledge over here, the $139 deluxe pledge, which gives you the miniatures, the Kickstarter exclusive promotional Demon Bribery, and the dual layer boards. So it's an extra chunk of change, but you are getting all those out of them. Is it worth it or not? That's up to you. Well, we'll talk about it soon. We have Baby Apocalypse over here, $179 for the miniature version of everything, and $266 for the all-in of everything. I will say, I admire the commitment to the bit on the price point being the 666. I assume that's the reason for the 66 and the 266, but also it makes me wonder how close is that to the actual pricing that it should have been versus how much was it rounded up or rounded down for the mental imagery. I'm curious, not actually an issue, because buy it or not, based on what it's worth to you, but just a curiosity more than anything else. As far as the should you back or should you not, first of all, I recommend watching a bunch of videos on this. There are a bunch of videos. The Hungry Gamer has some content, Rado has content, One Stop Co-op Shop. There are a lot of videos on this game, and it looks completely up my alley. This to me kind of like looks like the puzzliness of the loop combined with pandemic, combined with deck building. It looks like the kind of game I would really enjoy, with the caveat that it looks like it's coming in at the price point that I am usually only willing to spend if I know I like the system. With 354 backers, that means that something in general is also just not hitting. Like it is funded, well funded, like $52,000 raised out of an $18,000 goal. Although caveats around goals, because we just had that uncomfortable conversation. But for 354 backers, it means there's not a ton of demand for this. This is a game that it looks completely like my jam, but it could be a complete miss for me. It could be the kind of game that I just don't know if it's for me or not, or it could be the kind of game where I'm like, move over the loop. I have a new cooperative little solo puzzler game in town. I'm very intrigued by this one, but I just know that I'm personally in a space where I am less likely to spend $266 on something that I'm just not certain about, unless I think I can get my money back, which brings us to the should you back or should you not, and I'm skeptical that you should back this one based on how much the game costs versus how much demand there is for this game. Meaning $66 for the base pledge, that if you're interested in the game, I think it's a good way to try out the game, but you can see over here, there's only 28 people trying it out at the base pledge level. Far more people are trying it out at the deluxe pledge over here for 35, we have 32 at the baby apocalypse, and we have 144 at the main apocalypse pledge, which means most people are in that same camp, where they're kind of being inherently driven towards the larger pledge levels, because that's where the main interest seems to be based on the number of backers. But that means that a lot of people are either being pushed to that pledge level or just walking away entirely because of how expensive the game is. And it's not super expensive compared to many other things out there, but it is fairly expensive compared to, you know, for a first-time creator, for a game that isn't coming in with, you know, a designer name or a company name or an artist name or any of those things that might really justify a $260 price point. It's more of a leap of faith from those involved. And again, with 354 backers, that's just less aftermarket demand, which means I'm skeptical you'll find someone who's willing to take your $266 pledge, plus shipping, off your hands if this is a game that doesn't work for you. So color me incredibly interested and also skeptical that it's one that's worth backing now if you aren't on the fence about getting your money back if it's not for you. Moving on, we have Build War over here. This one I'm not going to be going into. I'm going to be giving you a bit of an announcement about the game and then moving on. And the reason for that is we have $63,000 raised, 740 backers, and from a pure high level, just watching the video and skimming the page, the game actually looks kind of interesting. The reason I'm not going to heavily go into in this video is because the combination of everything from the video to the graphics, all of it's very focused on the, I assume Chinese, I might be mistaken in the language, but not English focused as far as the presentation of things, and then combined with the price point where it's like, you know, $10 to ship it to China and like $50 to ship it to the US, and it kind of has me thinking that US is not the primary target for this game. And so I didn't spend a ton of time researching this one because I don't think it's as targeted toward the US market, but in case you are interested in this one, you can definitely do your research. It is available for US backer to go ahead and get your hands on it. The game does kind of look cool. If it was more catered towards the US market, I'd do a bit more research on it. As it is, I am intrigued and also moving on from it. Then over here we have Heroes of Xhandar, a trick-taking duel game. 243 backers, $18,000 raised, 9 days to go. This is, like it says, a trick-taking duel game. You're going to have a bunch of factions in this game, and you can, well, there's a few ways you can go ahead and buy things, but there are a bunch of factions in the game, and you can also have Lego figures too. We'll talk about that as well. But you have different factions with different strengths as far as how they operate, and then it's a trick-taking duel game. You're going to be moving along these tracks, you're going to be playing cards to win the tricks, taking advantage of the asymmetric abilities of the factions and the way they operate. Again, looks very cool, a bunch of interesting, clever card play, great art and production. Regular disclaimer that nowadays I have no idea what's created using AI art or not. Well, actually, Terraforming Mars that we talk about later in this video in some ways using AI art, but I don't know exactly what is and isn't, and it's not something I heavily research yet. It's something that if enough people seem to care about, I would look into researching it for each campaign. As it stands, there usually seems to be a very small minority of people who care very heavily about AI art, and the vast majority seem to not care. That is a conversation in its own right. At some point in the future, I'll probably do a video around AI art just to figure out what percentage of my audience cares. For myself, just to give a bit disclaimer, a bit transparency on AI art, I recognize the potential issues that are there. On a personal level, I don't actually care, but I also recognize that me not caring on a personal level does not mean that I shouldn't care on a larger scale, which is why it's a much more nuanced conversation than I will actually have in this video right now. But, you know, hey, if enough people talk about the fact that I didn't cover it, that something has AI art, then we'll have that conversation and we'll figure it out. In the meantime, going back to this game, and by the way, it should be very clear, I'm not saying the game has AI art. I'm just saying I'm at the point now when I see art and I start thinking about it, I suddenly realize, who knows? And honestly, I wonder if they have the whole, I think Kickstarter makes you fill out a thing down the bottom about AI art, possibly. I don't know if they make you fill it out or if it's listed there as an option. Like, I know Terraforming Mars had it, but I'm not seeing it here, so I don't know. I don't know. Either way, past that, the game is going to be a trick-taking duel game like it says already. You're going to have a bunch of pledge levels over here for the, let's start off with the pledge levels, standard pledge. For €45, you're going to get the card game, 90 cards, premium tuck box, the Kickstarter exclusive alternate art pack, and 2 Neophyte mats. That's going to be the Xhandar pledge over here. We have the Wanderer pledge for €39, so a little cheaper, which is going to give you most of that. It's going to give you 2 maxi brick hero figures. It's not going to give you the Neophyte mats or the Kickstarter exclusive art pack though. So kind of more of an intro pledge. This is like a step up with some things, without some others. Looks like it's being created based on backer feedback, based on this little line over here. And they're all going to be coming in a full size box, you know, an 11.7 or 12-inch box, standard Ticket to Ride-ish size. Then we have the Heroes All-In pledge for €99, the core game plus the Heroes expansion, which means you more Lego figures if you wanted those, as well as all the 4 respective heroes and lanes and cards and all those things. These 2 full boxes over here, so you get all the stuff you want to give this game a shot, which is where we get into the should you back or should you not. And the short version is, the game looks cool, but it's not, pricing wise, it's in one of the spots where it just feels like it could be a, you know, $25 game, and it's not. It's significantly more than that. $43 for the base Wanderer pledge, which has 90 cards, plus of course shipping as well. And sure, you get some Lego figures, but I don't know if people seem to care about those as much, especially since the Xhandar pledge, which seems to be created based on feedback, doesn't seem to have those Lego figures in them. And speaking for myself, I like Lego as much as the next person, or possibly more than the next person. It depends on who that next person is, but I'm not interested in having Lego figures in my game as much, unless it's the Lego shark. There's a game coming out called Kelp that has a shark, and they've been using in the prototype the Lego shark. That's giving me some hard nostalgic vibes, but actually having a constructible Lego figures on the board, not as much my jam. I'd almost rather use tokens. I like standees, I like miniatures. Lego figures feel a step removed for what I'm personally looking for, but I recognize that everyone has their own personal toy level, and for some people, that might be an excellent thing. But at the end of the day, I think the biggest issue, and 243 backers is kind of showing that as well, which is the game looks very cool. I would love to try this game out. I just don't get the sense from the components, and components and design are different conversations. I don't get the sense from the components that it feels like a $45 game to get half the game, to get some but not all of the heroes. I just think the card count and the what the game seems to be doing feels like it doesn't feel like it has that much game going on in it compared to the price point. Again, it's a tricky conversation because what is the price point of design versus components and all that? That's a reasonable conversation. I remember this is a conversation I had way back with Radlands, and Radlands is a game that I love and I think it's excellent and amazing, but when they were charging $65 for a card game, it felt like a lot for a deck of cards, and granted they have a cheaper retail version for like $19, which is kind of where I am with this. If this had a $19 retail version, I'd love to try this out. It's got great art, it's got asymmetric factions, it's got powers and abilities, it's trick-taking, it's duels, all those things are incredibly fun. But it's just the price point versus what I'm seeing here doesn't really jive with me as much, which is why I think I'm probably in that same camp as to the reason why there are 243 backers, just being resistant to the price point versus the components, and I think that same resistance is again going to translate on the secondhand market. Again, if you want to check out the That Is the Question show, and if you missed it, by the way, it's to back or not to back, that is the question. So it's a question and answer format on the to back and not to back. See the clever little thing there? But if you do want to check out the That Is the Question, I kind of went into this. I talk about it on a regular basis in these videos when I'm talking about a campaign that doesn't have that much demand and how that translates into the secondhand market. But I go into it more into in this past week's That Is the Question, I go into it more and really explain the nuances of why it is that fewer backers means that you don't see that aftermarket demand down the road when a campaign lands. In any case, I guess the short version is, I think the game looks incredibly cool, and like for Horsemen, I both think it's cool and am reluctant to pay the price for it, and don't think it's going to bring back what you paid for it if it's not a game for you. Moving on over here, we have Terraforming Mars. More Terraforming Mars is called. 8,500 backers, $965,000 raised, and the main and most important question is, does it all fit into the big box if you back the big box? That's all we care about. That's the only thing we're here for, and the answer is maybe, sort of, halfway, mostly, kind of. So it depends on the thickness of the sleeves you're using for all the cards, but you probably could get all the cards in. As far as the various extra components you'll have for the 5th player, because yes, there are new forests and cities and all of that, the short answer is, if assuming you're willing to stack them, they still fit. And I can tell you that on my end, I'm willing to stack them, I just care that they fit. And then past that, as far as the Neophyte mats have their own separate holder case, and they do not fit into the big box, and so it kind of falls into the mostly category. Oh yeah, and the Autonoma. The Autonoma kind of says, maybe you can cram it in there if you're trying to, but They're kind of just keeping that one separate, and honestly, from everything else, that's the one I kind of loosely am okay keeping separate. I will say, though, that when Stronghold Games said, we are not making more expansions for the game, they clearly and definitely lied. And don't get me wrong, lots of companies do that. I still constantly bring up how Dominion, you know, about 6 expansions ago, said that they were done making Dominion expansions, and they kept making Dominion expansions. If the people want it, they will back it, and currently we have 8,600 people who said they want it, and sadly, I am one of those people who went ahead and backed it all, because Prelude is Terraforming Mars' best expansion, and yes, I want all those playmats, including new maps of Terraforming Mars, including we have award. Let's talk about what's in the campaign. Let's go and talk about this. This is Terraforming Mars, and we have a bunch of things new. We have Prelude over here, which is going to give you new content for Prelude, supporting all the various expansions. If you like Prelude, and you should, it's the best expansion for Terraforming Mars, this is more Prelude, which is called Prelude 2, which is a great name. We have milestones and awards, and this is a clever little one. This lets you mix and match milestones, so you're not stuck with the specific milestones and awards of a specific map that you're using. Rather, you can mix and match in different ways, which is an easy and good idea to give you more variability based around the map differences and the milestone differences. It also, to a small extent, takes a little bit away from the fact that they are adding 4 new maps, if I counted correctly, and so now some of those are a little bit less relevant because the milestones awards are being mixed up anyway, but I'm still a fan of this. I think it's great. I'm very happy that it's there. We have the Autonomous Solo expansion, designed by David Turczi and Nick Shaw. This is going to give you a solo expansion mimicking another player, and it is able to adjust around any of the expansions you are using in the game. We have the Neophyte map packs. We have the base one over here, which gives you the base 3 map packs that already exist, you know, for the base game, for Hellas and Elysium, I assume. I guess it's Hellas and Elysium. This is going to give you playmats for all those maps, and they all store into their own attractive storage box. And then we have the expansion outpost, 4 new boards available for Terraforming Mars, including specifically one that's meant for larger player counts for 5 players, that also adjusts the various heat and oxygen and water metrics so that you have more of those in play if you're playing a 5-player game. Should you ever play 5-player Terraforming Mars? Probably not. Am I still getting the components for 5-player Terraforming Mars because it's one of my favorite games of all time and it deserves to have the option of being played at all player counts? Yes, sadly I am. I debated not because I don't think I'll ever play it at 5 players. But for one of my favorite games of all time, I mean, it was my favorite game of all time this past year, it does have to have that option. So I am reluctantly paying $30 to get those extra components for this game. It is what it is. That's basically all the stuff we have, past a few extras. Extras meaning sleeves, we have promos, we have a bunch of other things. There are promos being unlocked throughout the course of the campaign, and there's a whole bunch of pledge levels. $29 for, I can't do all the pledge levels. It would take the entire video time. We're already 30 minutes into this. Wow, it's going to be a long video. We have the promos for this game, the new milestones and awards, as well as Prelude 2 for $29. A very reasonable price point for, well, sort of reasonable price point. We'll talk about that for just the core components. Then you get the Autonomo over here if you want to get that, but keep in mind this does not include the milestones and awards, so they're already starting to mix and match in different ways. This gives you the milestones and awards back. Then we have the Mars-based blueprints, which again gives you the promos for this campaign plus the blueprints. We have the expansion outpost. We have the Martian Metropolis, giving you all of those. We have the Minor Red Planet Magnet over here, which gives you again different configurations. You can kind of see in the pictures what you're getting, but you can also make sure to look at it. Once you get to this level, $149 is kind of mostly everything, but still not everything. Then we have $201, which is missing the Autonoma. Kind of want to pay attention as you go through this because you may not have realized that this is missing the Autonoma, and you could add it separately to the pledge. Just make sure you understand what you want and what it's missing. This does come with the extra little plastic upgraded bits from the base game to match the fact that you now need those for your 5th player option over there. Then we have the Planetary Tycoon, which is $228 for absolutely everything. On my end, just in case you're wondering, I don't care about the sleeves at all, so I built my own custom pledge level consisting of the $149 pledge level, plus adding in the various plastic things over here and adding in the promo cards. I ended up with a $209 price point to get all the new stuff because I don't care about the sleeves. I personally use Sleeve Kings. Hashtag not sponsored, not sponsored, not sponsored. I just like using Sleeve Kings. In any case, that's going to be everything for Terraforming Mars, which brings us to should you back or should you not? Will it hold its value? All of that stuff. And the short answer is, I think on these, mostly not until you get to the playmats. The playmats, in theory, are not going to be available outside this campaign. They said over here, let's see, I think they said over here, let's see, no, where is it? I don't remember where it was, but they said somewhere in the campaign that the playmats are going to be Kickstarter exclusive. They're not going to be available, I'm pretty sure. Now I'm questioning myself because I don't remember offhand, and I looked through a lot of things. Where are they? Where are they? Where are they? Okay, now I'm panicking that I'm wrong over here, but I'm 90% sure that the playmats are only available in the campaign. But I may have been looking at something else because I look at so many campaigns today that I am possibly wrong, but I don't think so. Let's see. Prelude plus promos. I might be wrong. Check for a pinned comment on the page, okay? Do we have a Y back now? No, we have the AI stuff down over here, talking about well it uses AI. Check for a pinned comment on this video to see about the playmats, because I want to double check it, because I could have sworn the playmats were exclusive, but I could be wrong now because I don't see it. In any case, Terraforming Mars over here, as far as should you back or should you not, will hold its value. The short answer is the only stuff that really makes it worth backing with just Stronghold games are those promo packs, are those extras, are the exclusive, the stuff that's harder to get your hands on it. Everything else will show up in retail, and will show up possibly even earlier. They have a track record of sometimes sending things earlier to retail than to Kickstarter backers. It'll show up on sale many times. I mean, you can still get Ares Expedition on various discounts at various places for far less. You can get the Kickstarter version for far less than backers ever paid for it. Granted, it's been 2 years, but still, you can get it for far less. And this stuff doesn't necessarily hold the value long term because of how good the retail presence is. The main reason to back is the exclusive stuff, the stuff that is hard to get your hands on it. And if those playmats are in that category, that's a good reason to back. And if not, that might not be as good a reason to back. So check the pinned comment as far as the answer on the playmats, because I thought they were exclusive, but I'm not seeing that offhand right now. Past that, the promos are going to be the other reason. You're going to have promos you'll get in this campaign. You have the opportunity to get getting old promos as well, and those are things that you could get your hands on it, but you often have to hunt them down. And so very often backing Terraforming Mars as backing their games more often than not is about the convenience of not having to hunt things down separately, but you're not often saving that much if you do want the promos. You might be getting it at par pricing, and you're often paying more if you don't care about those promos. So the should you back or should you not will hold its value. Not really holding its value so much, but it is often worth doing it just to the sake of getting everything and doing so at a reasonable price point at the same time. Moving on over here, we have the next campaign, which is going to be Dark Domains. Dark Domains 2nd Edition. Coming to you from Laboratory H, we have 548 backers, $27,000 raised. Dark Domains 2nd Edition, the Necromancer has returned. This is a worker placement game which players are managing their own little kind of villages, but also they're kind of evil, and at some point you're going to turn evil and show everyone how evil you are, at which point you'll be fighting a different kind of uphill battle in the game. Dark Domains came out maybe in 2019 if I'm not mistaken. Overall it's rated well. I think it's a 7.7 on Board Game Geek, I think, if I recall correctly. But overall, over here they made a 2nd edition because they made a bunch of small tweaks and changes. One of them was just to address something that was a little broken in the game, and then they did another change, and they made that part less frustrating and that part more fun, and they kind of said, you know what, we're just going to make a 2nd edition instead, and also have an expansion at the same time. You're also going to have the Lotus District expansion, so you have both a 2nd edition, you have an upgrade kit for those who want it, the Old Guard conversion for $9, you have the Lotus District expansion for $19, you have the Lotus District and conversion kit for $28, and then we have the Accolade of Necromancer, which is the new edition, but without the expansion for $69, and the Dark Domains and Lotus Districts for $79, which means that expansion, if you get it all together, the Lotus Districts is only $10 instead of $19, a savings in a matter of speaking. Like, whenever you're spending money, you're still spending money, but relatively speaking, it's a savings. The Acolyte of Necromancer over here is a $69 price point, coming down from an $84.99 projected MSRP, and as usual, regular friendly reminder on conversations about MSRP, that once you factor in the shipping on this game, you're still paying more for the game plus shipping than you would be paying if for buying it at your online at your local online game store down the road, depending on where you are based. So in general, there are savings to be had here, especially if you're bundling, but the base pledge, once you factor in shipping, you're better off waiting till retail, assuming it does show up in retail, which the last one did. So kind of a mixed bag over there. As far as, I guess, should you back or should you not, the game is overall well rated, but it kind of does come down to those conversations. If you're going all in Dark Domains and Lotus District, at that point, the savings versus the price point, you're getting 30% off the MSRP, which does mean that even once you factor in shipping, you're getting a roughly par, possibly slightly better deal, assuming you know you're looking at retail. On the other hand, if you're looking at the secondhand market, the original Dark Domains, while it did pretty decently, didn't hold up a ton in the secondhand market, and so if you are willing to hunt down a secondhand market copy, you'll probably be able to get it cheaper there, which also means that your copy is less likely to hold its value. So if you're comparing it to retail, it's kind of worth getting it here if you're getting everything. If you're comparing it to secondhand market, not necessarily as much so. That's going to be Dark Domain 2nd Edition, 550 backers. I will say it's not doing as well as the first campaign as well. The first campaign had maybe it was 1,900 backers. I don't remember the number. It had a lot more backers overall, and this one's not there as well. Obviously, we have 12 days to go, so still more time in the campaign. This is a game, I mean, I have the original 1st edition on my shelf. I have not played it yet. I tracked down because I heard good things about it, and have yet to play the original 1st edition. Very intrigued, though, to dive into it. I've heard good things. I just haven't played it, and I'm doubtful that I'll be able to get your review before the next 12 days are up. So, yeah, there's that. Moving on to the next campaign, we have Barrage New Lands. Speaking of games that I have on my shelf that I haven't played, that I really want to play. In fact, this one I even read the rulebook for. I prepped for it multiple times. I'm basically ready to go. If somebody wants to play it with me on Board Game Arena, let me know. I might have to refresh myself on the rulebook, but I want to table this game. It's been, I've heard, I mean, this game is what, 35 on Board Game Geek? Like, it's a highly ranked game. It's coming to you from, as well, from Tommaso Battista, or is it Simone Luciani? Which one designed DEI? DEI is Tommaso Battista. That's what Simone Lasciani does other games. But DEI, one of my favorite games so far, is designed by Tommaso Battista. This is a midweight Euro game or heavier Euro game, and it's supposed to be incredibly elegant, very well loved. Again, number 35 on BGG, which is a big deal. I have it. I just need to play this one. But either way, 3,500 backers so far, $100,000 raised, 15 days to go, and this is primarily expansions as well as extra content for various stuff from Cranial Creations. You're going to have Barrage over here. Barrage is a midweight Euro game about managing power as water flows through various oceans by trying to divert it, run your power stations, all these fun little things. Lots of fun Euro things going on. And this is going to be giving you 2 new maps for the game. We have New Lands, which is basically a new map for the game, but then we also have, and that's Colorado Connection over here, but then we also have Duel, which is a map for 2 players, both of these being €15 each for either of these maps. So a new map, 40 new tiles, or a new map, dual board, and 40 new tiles. So specifically a 2-player version of Barrage if you're interested in that kind of experience. And then for over here for €24, we have both of them together, Duel plus the Colorado Connection. It's worth noting that Duel is Kickstarter exclusive. If you want to get your hands on this game, on the dual version of the game, you need to go ahead and back it on Kickstarter or rely on the secondhand market or rely on future campaigns. That means the New Land bundle is also Kickstarter exclusive for the exact same reason, because it includes Duel. And then we have retailer bundles as well, so retailers will have the opportunity of buying Duel as well, which means even though it is Kickstarter exclusive, there will be some retailers who have their hands in it who backed it through the Kickstarter. Past that, there's lots of content on the game itself, lots of stuff breaking down the new maps, breaking down the old reviews, all those fun things. And then additionally, there's also the add-ons for the Cranial Creations store. Has a whole lot of add-ons where you can buy various things for Barrage, you can buy various things for Anuki, Dawn of the Gods, for Rats of Wistar, which I believe is new and upcoming. I don't believe that's out yet. We have what's called Mirage over here, and we also have Golem, little bits over here. I still need to get those token upgrade kits because I have not done so yet, and I definitely want that because Golem is a fantastic game. Then we have Lorenzo Magnifico, another fantastic game that I have most of the stuff for this one, but maybe there's some things here I need, I don't know. And then you have Newton and other games. Basically, if you wanted any of the various upgrades or promos or things that you have a hard time getting your hands on for their games, there's a whole bunch of ways to get your hands on those by backing this campaign, and then, getting all the extras, including shirts apparently. There's also shirts, and then of course shipping and all of that. As far as should you back or should you not will hold its value, I'm not going to focus on all the tons of little bits and bobs because that would take so long to focus on each one of those. But I will focus on the fact that if you want the expansion maps, especially because this game is ranked 35 on BGG, okay? That's a big deal. And the 2-player map for this game is Kickstarter exclusive. That's a big deal. That is a big deal. If you want to back this map, first of all, if you want to get your hands on the map, this is your safest and best opportunity to do so without having to pay high aftermarket prices or trying to track it down. Games that are ranked this high on BGG, in general, there's a demand for them, and there's a demand for all the things around them, including a 2-player map for the game. There's going to be demand for that. So if you are interested in that, I highly recommend you back it, and I think it'll hold its value just fine in the secondhand market. I'd be very surprised if it doesn't. The only way I can really see that not being the case is if they just, have another expansion, another Kickstarter in the future with the map being released again. Past that, I think it's a fairly safe bet that a 2-player map, think about games that are popular that have 2-player versions. Seven Wonders and Seven Wonders Duel, I think about how well that's gone. Agricola Duel, Caverna Duel, all the various versions of duels of anything that exist, they tend to do well if they are already a popular game. And so for Barrage to have a 2-player map that is Kickstarter exclusive, if you want it as a fan of Barrage, back it now. If you are on the fence about Barrage and you are interested in checking it now because the 2-player map might change it, this is a good time to check it out. And if you're someone who's in any way interested, I just recommend you get your hands on this now because I think that map will hold its value just fine. Moving on, we have Scope, Panzer, and Trilogy. Over on Gamefound from Draco Ideas, €11,000 raised so far. This is a game that they originally had, I believe they had Scope Stalingrad, if I'm not mistaken. I think Scope Stalingrad already came out, and they're bringing out Scope U-Boat and U-Boot and Scope Panzer. These are little 2-player games of placing cards down in a row and trying to manage. They all have slightly different systems, but effectively you're going to have, let's see if we can show your card system row over here. You're going to have the various cards over here from Scope Panzer, showing you the various tanks. So let's see if we can show you over here. Here's a good example. So in Scope Panzer over here, you're going to have your various cards in the map down here, and then you have the opportunity to be moving around navigating your own cards, or alternatively engaging with other cards by selecting a little quadrant of yours and opponents. You're going to go ahead and reveal various enemies trying to take attacks and just pot shots at the enemies, and going ahead and playing cards based on taking missed cards based on the armor and the range and trying to tactically attack them. And they're all slightly different as far as how they operate, but they're all giving you that 2-player card-driven systems with a bit of a tactical puzzle as far as how you engage. So we have we have submarines, we have tanks, and we have snipers, all engaging in slightly different ways. You can check out previous coverage on Scope Stalingrad, not on my channel, I haven't covered the game, but I believe Tom Vassell already covered Scope Stalingrad. It's been out for a while, so you can check out BG reviews on it. I think Tom was more positive in it than BG reviews. I think BG reviews are like a 6.6 something, and Tom overall enjoyed it. I believe it got a Dice Tower approved, but it's a fun little tactical back and forth game, and the others are going to be similarly in that range. As far as the games themselves, they're going to be $12 for each one, and $36 for all three, which is not really so much as a savings, so much as it is, you know, putting them all in one box and getting at the savings on shipping as opposed to anything else. Then they have various extras over here, including that Trilogy box sleeve, so I guess you are saving $1 in that sense, and then bases, premium sleeves, all these various things for the games. That's going to be the Scope Trilogy from Draco Ideas. Moving on, we have Ivion. Ivion Season 3 Crossroads, otherwise known as the Robin Hood and Little John version of Ivion. That's what's going on here. We have the Sheriff, we have the Friar Tuck, we have Robin Hood, Maid Marian, all kinds of things. Well, not really Maid Marian so much as Robin Hood Marian, I guess. I don't know. There's a female archer. I'm assuming it's Maid Marian. It seems like it's on brand. Either way, we have $47,000 raised, 351 backers, 18 days to go in the third season of Ivion. A game that is very well rated as a hero crafting system in which you're going to combine 2 hero classes and 1 hero aspect. There's different terminologies for them, and you're going to package it together, and that's going to be your hero. So it's not really full deck building in the way you would deck build in Lorcana or MTG or Pokemon, any of that. Rather, it's deck building by kind of combining specific aspects, merging together. There you go. That's your deck. That's your character. That's how special and unique they are as you start fighting each other back and forth on this skirmish game with your hero crafting system. This is the third season. They have a bunch of content for the game. The prices are generally $39 for a single pack, which is going to give you, you know, your, you know, whatever, the Falcon, the Snake, or the Bear and the Badger, or the Noose and the Goose. You're going to have a season pass, which is all the content for $100 over here, and then for $200 you get kind of a little bit of upgraded everything, deluxeified, over the top, all of that for the Ivion system. We have 89 backers backing at that price point, 181 at the season pass, and only 15 backing at the Clash Pack, which makes sense. That's honestly, especially once you factor in shipping, that's the worst deal overall. Although speaking of which, as far as should you back it, should you not, overall price point wise, this game doesn't hold up on the secondhand market. If you look for people selling their copies, you'll see people selling, you know, a full season pass at $99 for in the $50 to $60 range over on eBay easily. So this is one that is a premium game. It is well rated, it is well liked. Lots of good positive things can be said about this game, but the flip side of it is that I don't think it holds its value overall. I think it's expensive enough, and it has people who are turning it around that for the previous seasons they have not done a great job holding its value, even though it does seem like a system that's very cool. I personally am interested in the system. It looks like a fun game. I like this kind of style of game if done well, and from all I can see, this game is done well. So honestly, my only real critique is just that the price point doesn't hold up to the secondhand market, which in a whole video called 2 Back or Not to Back means that the 2 Back or Not to Back leans towards, if you're cost conscious, get this on the secondhand market instead, try to hunt down some stuff from previous seasons, buy that on the cheap, and then you'll know for the future seasons whether you care enough to go ahead and get it on the crowd on the second, whether you care enough to get it on Kickstarter versus whether you care to hunt it down at all, or the secondhand market, or all of that. But overall, also by the way, video-wise, watch this video. It's a great video. It tells a nice little story. I was pulled in, emotionally invested in the characters in what's a skirmish game. So overall, I appreciate the video. There are several good videos today, but I don't remember if I've passed any of them, so I may have passed some already, and that is what it is, because we are already at 46 minutes into this video, and we still have campaigns to cover, which means we're going to go to the world of Midgard. 2 entirely new Viking adventures. 511 backers, $26,000 raised, 18 days to go, coming to you from Grey Fox Games. We have 2 games in the Midgard universe. We have Clans of Midgard, which is going to be a draft, write, and fight game. We can have a central pool of moving tokens around this grid as you draft various cards and as you engage in roll and write goodness. I don't know the full breakdown of how it plays. Roll and write goodness. And then we have Revisit Midgard, which is our card game where you're going to be trying to pillage various areas. We have to be mindful of if you pillage the same areas as other people, you have to engage in a agreement, settle the dispute, or no one will walk away with anything in this head-to-head, well, not really head-to-head, a game. Revisit Midgard, the card game. That's what we're going to have over here as far as these 2 game systems. They also have deluxe fight components. Let's show you what we have. Let's see if we can show you the side-by-side for the deluxe so you understand what you're getting retail versus deluxe, because this is a Grey Fox Games. Their games will go to retail. They generally have a decent retail presence, and then also Grey Fox Games does have some spotty track records as far as crowdfunding as well, so you want to take that into account at the same time. But over here we have a cardboard game board versus a cloth game board for Clans of Midgard. We have cubes versus warriors, and we have twice as many score sheets in the deluxe version of the game. That's what you get for the exclusive version of the Clans of Midgard roll and write. Then we have Revisit Midgard, the card game, which gives you unique pawns as opposed to cubes. That gives you tiles as opposed to cards for the locations, and that gives you upgraded metal coins instead of the cardboard coins for the coins, and that's what you get in the deluxe version over there. Price points are coming in fairly reasonable, $29 for both of these. Over here, $29 and $36, and then you save a little money if you get $57 for both of them, $56 for both of them, sorry about that. But then past that, that's basically as far as what you have for the various pledge levels, and as far as should you back or should you not, will it hold its value? I'm skeptical it will, but it's hard to say for sure. The price points for a deluxe version of a game are certainly not bad. You always have to factor in shipping as well. But I'll say the combination of Grey Fox having some spotty track record with their Kickstarter games, combined with the fact that if you look right now, if you look at the campaign, what do we have? We have 511 backers, especially for a game with the Midgard name. That's not a ton. We have 18 days to go, so that number will go up for sure, but it's not a ton of demand for these games. I think the price points are good, and there is some exclusive content there that maybe, but I'm skeptical overall. I think retail is probably your best bet for this if you are interested in them. You are obviously giving up some degree of new and shiny. You could obviously hunt in the secondhand market and see if it's for you, but I am still skeptical that it'll hold its value very much. Moving on over here, we have the Isofarian Guard second printing. $462,000 raised, 3,694 backers, 19 days left to go. The Isofarian Guard second printing by Sky Kingdom Games. This one over here is, well, it's a reprinting of the Isofarian Guard. That's primarily what's going on. In fact, if you watch my preview video on this, I did a kind of a preview video. Yes, I said preview. I did a preview, not a review. Very out of character for me. It wasn't the paid preview. It's just that I know about the stuff coming for the second edition or the 1.5 edition, and I don't have them, so I couldn't review it, but I did want to talk about it, so I did a preview video, which again, a little off-brand for me. But Isofarian Guard, over here we have a few things coming. We have the Isofarian Guard reprinting. We also have the changes, which is they are addressing, they are very aware that while most people seem to love this game, the consistent complaint that is out there is they love the game, like myself. I love the game while saying that it feels a bit grindy. That's my opinion of the game, and it seems to be a general opinion of the game, that people love the game very often, but they have complaints that it feels a little bit repetitive at times in the conflicts. They are aware of that. They are addressing that as much as possible. They have a bunch of things that they're doing to address that. I talk more about it in my preview video, but they are completely reprinting all the storybooks. One of the things that's happening is they're completely reprinting the storybooks. They're giving you so many more event cards to engage with in the game. They're giving you a bunch of new things, and those are all going to be available in the reprint pack. Speaking of which, over here, if we go to the rewards over here, we can scroll down to the, I guess it's an add-on probably. We have the update pack for previous backers. It's $39 for the update pack for previous backers. So if you have the original game and you want to update to the new stuff, $39 will do that for you. There's also these fancy little premium edition foils over here. They look very, very cool. That's a whole different conversation though. But either way, the main pledge levels, which if you're looking for, and here's my preview video if you want to check that out, but the main pledge levels are going to be $180, which is significantly up from the original like $79 that the game was, but also that's because the $79 was never a reasonable price point. So if you do have to pay $79 plus $39 as an original backer, at least you're still paying less than the $180. Obviously you have to factor in shipping, all those various things, and you have the game until now, so you could hopefully be enjoying yourself. But $180 for the full game, $200 to get foreteller narration as well, and they are also adding like 5 hours of foreteller content, so you're getting more foreteller, and if you're an original holder of foreteller, you're getting that content for free, I believe. We have the gameplay bundle giving you the playmat as well for $240. The playmat is nice. Obviously you have to factor in how much you care about playmats, but I like playmat. I don't know if I'd want to pay $40 for it, but it is not, I mean, that's my problem with playmats. I don't like dealing with the storage of them, which is my problem. And then we have the all-in bundle, $275, which gives you sleeves, the playmats, the bags, all the various things over here for the Isofarian Guard. That's basically what we have over here. As far as should you back, should you not, will it hold its value? It's harder to say with the increased price point because things are more expensive, but I still think it's a very good game that is very well loved. What's the rating on this? Like an 8.8 or something like that? It should be somewhere on this page. Is it not listed on this page? It should be like front and center. Is it on the original starting banner over here? Let's see what we got. Nope, not on the banner. This is a well-rated game. It's a well-loved game on BGG, and overall, I mean, this one is definitely worth trying out. I have nothing, well, not nothing. I have mostly high praise to say about the game. The one critique I do have is that grind aspect, but you're looking at like 35 pounds of content. A lot of game in this. This is the kind of game that can keep you busy for a very, very long time. Price per content you're getting out of it, totally worth it. And so that kind of is a question of how well will it do on the secondhand market. The current Isofarian Guard is doing very well. It's very, it's an expensive game. People want to get their hands on this game, and it's not that easy to get your hands on it. But the question is, how will that translate into second printing? Currently, we have how many backers? We have 3,694 backers. I think overall it'll hold its value, but it is more expensive, so not a guarantee. Moving on to what we have over here, we have Rogue Angels. Rogue Angels with $84,000 raised, 1,000 backers, 20 days to go. Rogue Angels giving you 1,000 pages of campaign choose your own adventure with 16 heroes and legacies, and just basically that's what it is. It's kind of choose your own adventure, engage in a story of space, space something, surviving in space, making choices, engaging with the enemies, tackling that room, choosing to go this way or that way, as you have 16 different heroes and the different arcs and pathways they're going to go on. So it's a whole lot of choose your own adventure combined with the actual card management system. You're going to have it's a little similar to Oathsworn in the cards management system, different but similar in terms of cards are going to be played and then slowly be sequencing back into your hand in, again, different but similar way. You'll be navigating around the board trying to pick various doors and get your way through those things while upgrading your character across the different spectrum. They have their own little charts of how they grow their abilities as they go through it. This is one that I had a chance to play a single session on TTS with the designer a while ago, and I overall enjoyed it. It is a single session, so take it with a grain of salt, but I definitely enjoyed my time with it. Also, disclaimer: they're doing paid. They've done paid preview content with Board Game Co. So take that into account because I'm giving an opinion now. But yeah, I did enjoy the game from that one scenario that I got to play. But that's gonna be Rogue Angels. Lots of choose your own adventure, lots of spacefaring, lots of rolling dice, lots of managing the enemy AI and activations, and lots of just generally trying to survive. Oh, also watch this. Watch the review from King of Average as well if you want another opinion on that. But over here we have for the game, it's going to run you €107 for the game. That's it. That's the basic pledge level. The other things they have are like print and play stuff and supporting the campaign. They're going with a single $107 pledge level. And any stretch goals make the game better, plain and simple. They want a single version of the game. That's their vision. It's going to go up to $112 in the pledge manager. Speaking of which, by the way, Isofarian Guard is going to get more expensive in the pledge manager as well. Take that into account. But over here, Rogue Angels will jump to €112 in the pledge manager, and I believe after that, if it shows up in retail, I think he said he's going to be printing 2,000 copies no matter what. With 1,000 backers currently, I think getting to 2,000 backers will be easy. But it sounds like he's going to print some extra, and it will be available for €130 is what he's estimating down the road if you don't get it now. So 107, 112, €130 for the game. It's not a small amount of money. Take that into account. You're not getting a ton of miniatures. You're getting a few miniatures for the characters and then a bunch of standees for all the enemies. So it's not a very miniature heavy game. This is a game that's about the gameplay first and foremost, about the choose your own adventure. Again, 1,000 pages of story. There's a lot going on there. And the game did give you that sense of choose your own adventure. Again, I only had the tutorial mission, so very limited scope and scale of what the game has to offer. But overall, I was very impressed with what I saw so far, and I'm intrigued and excited to dive back into it more. As far as should you get it for yourself, it kind of depends on how many thousands of campaign games you have sitting on your shelves and what you're overdue on and what you think you will or won't get played, because again, like, there's a lot of testimonials, by the way. If you scroll through this page, you start getting down towards the bottom here, and every few we have like testimonial, more testimonials, more. Nope, I scrolled too far. Scroll back up. Here we go. We have every few. We have testimonials, videos, testimonials, a ton of content around the game. So if you're in any way interested, there's a million different creators you can check out, your favorite creator, and see what works for you or not. That's going to be Rogue Angels. As far as the should you back or should you not, hard to say for sure. It's expensive, it's not miniatures heavy, but there is enough demand, and I do think it's a good game. So I am leaning towards the fact that I think it will be holding its value-ish at par or not. I think the demand is there, and I think it's a good game. There's enough people that will generate some buzz, but it's also not so in demand, and it is expensive relative to some other games out there. That is certainly not a guarantee, just more of a, I think it tilts that way. We'll see how it goes. Moving on, we have over on Gamefound, Unreliable Wizard by Salt and Pepper Games. We have, I think, two more campaigns. Let me see. 2 more campaigns to go over after this. Unreliable Wizard, 40,000 is a long video, 55 minutes already, and we're still not done. Jeez, man. 40,000 euros, 1,700 backers. Unreliable Wizard from Salt and Pepper Games is a reprinting from Salt and Pepper of a game that already exists. You can check out a full Dice Tower review from oh my gosh, Mike Delisio, going over the game, gave it a Dice Tower Seal of Excellence, and this is a solo survival game. You're going to be plotting out your path, you're going to be taking down various demons, I believe they are, yeah, demons along the way, and every time you take out a demon, you're also going to get the various upgrades, you're going to get various perks, so you're getting more powerful as you face heavier and heavier enemies. Think of it as games like 20 Strong, like... There's another game system, like other Salt and Pepper games as well, like, oh my gosh, their previous games, Resist and whatever it is. So there's a bunch of game systems that kind of have you going through that puzzle of survival. You fight things, you power up, other stuff are getting stronger, you're going through that, but you're doing this in a bunch of cards, in a very small box solo puzzle adventure that you're going to be going through, trying to power up your character as you take down various enemies who are getting stronger and stronger as you get stronger and stronger, cast your spells, gain abilities, and take them all down along the way. It's worth noting that if you back this on Gamefound, there is an expansion. There is the Gamefound exclusive Unreliable Wizard and the Unstable Spirit Towers. That is going to be a Gamefound exclusive expansion. You want to take them into account as you're considering whether to back this or not, because that's going to be the main reason to get this on crowdfunding. In general, Salt and Pepper Games has a lot of fun stuff, but their stuff does have good retail availability, which means if you want that base game, it's probably going to be cheaper at retail down the road. It's more if you want the expansion that they have this listed down over here. First of all, the games are going to run you 22 euro for both, 15 euro for the base game, and 10 euro for the expansion. So 22 euro for both, not bad at all. And then additionally, the why back now is going to be the Tower of Unstable Spirits, will not be available at retail. So if you want that, this is a good time to get it. And again, with Dice Tower giving it a Seal of Excellence already, getting an expansion that is otherwise unavailable, certainly not a bad thing overall. As far as number of backers, we have 1,700 backers, which means again there is that demand for the game to some degree. And so that's going to be the Unreliable Wizard from Salt and Pepper Games. Overall, one worth considering, especially if you want that expansion. Moving on, we have Mycelium over here, which is going to be $200,000 raised, 2,800 backers, 27 days to go, and an also incredibly well done video. It includes a joke, by the way, which means if you're waiting patiently to the end of this video for your dad joke, there are no dad jokes this week because the dad joke was already done in the Mycelia video. I'm joking. Of course there'll be a dad joke. And yes, I'm acknowledging the existence of the dad joke earlier on than I should. But it is what it is. But also watch the Mycelia video because there's a great joke in there. But 27 days to go, 2,800 backers. This is a game about planting mushrooms. You're going to have your mother mushroom, which is traveling on the map. You're going to have these other various, not mushroom spores, whatever they are. The other bigger mushrooms you're trying to plant around. And you're trying to plant your spores around the map. You have 6 core actions you take across the game as you spread, as you decay, as you grow, as you just generally try to get stronger and stronger and have more of a control over the map. It's basically area control with mushrooms. That's what it kind of is so far. And again, 6 basic actions, 1 to 4 players, 40 to 90 minutes. Overall is a great video. Really is a good breakdown of the game while remaining entertaining, while remaining engaging. So I highly recommend you watch their main Kickstarter video. And as far as pledge levels over here, we have 15, nope, not that one. We have 40 pounds for the Mycelia Standard Edition of the game. We have 54 pounds for the Deluxe Edition. And then we have 85 for the Art Special and 599 pounds for the Opulent Edition, which gives you a wood box and wood tokens and all of those fun things for the game. Over here we have the Kickstarter exclusives, which we have the Deluxe Embossed Slipcase, and we have the Australia-Asia expansion, which giving you 18 extra cards for the game. And that's going to bring us to the should you back or should you not, will it hold its value? And kind of yes-ish. This is interesting. This one falls into another one of those many games that we're seeing where you have a somewhat nature-themed or animal-themed game that comes in Kickstarter, does tremendously well, has an impact, hits an audience, and then the question is, what happens down the road? Who does it resonate with down the road as far as once it lands? Or did it hit Kickstarter and just get marketed really well? Like, what's the actual thing going on here? I think with 2,800 backers, $200,000 raised, with 27 days to go, which means that number's probably going to double by the time the campaign ends, I think overall this is one that has plenty of demand for it, as well as some degree of exclusivity to some of the pledges. So I think it's one that is a relatively safe back. Back. And it's harder to say with these because of the nature of what audience they're actually hitting. Are they hitting a more mass market audience, more of a gamer audience? It just happened a few times. We had it with Bear Mountain, we had it with Mycelia, we had it with the Botany game as well, we had it with Dog Park to a degree, didn't hit that level of success, but Dog Park definitely did well. And so those games in general, it's a question of where their actual audience is, but overall I lean towards the fact that it probably will hold its value. Probably. The savings and the extra exclusives are there, and so that's going to be Mycelia over on Kickstarter. Which brings us to our last one, which is Gold Nugget over on Gamefound. 14,000 euros. Gold Nugget, 14,000 euros raised, 412 backers. Gold Nugget is going to be a game of trying to find the Gold Nugget. You're going to have a pile of tokens that are face down in the middle, and the Gold Nugget is going to be one of them, and you're trying to be the last player standing, or the player with the Gold Nugget at the end of the game. But meanwhile, you're going to have abilities. You're using your ability cards all the time, and you're also going to be engaging in a degree of blindfoldness as you are gathering various things, having players steal various things from you, using your powerful leaf cards. These cards can only be used once per turn because they're more powerful, and trying to use your own player role. There's going to be different player roles in the game that all give you your own different perks, like the owl never closes his eye, the frog's going to be stealing from other players, things like that over here. Oh, here we go. We got the frog stealing from the nest, we got the owl never closing their eyes, all that stuff. That's going to be what's going on in Gold Nugget. And there are some cards that give you an instant win, but mostly it's about trying to get your hands on that Gold Nugget throughout the course of the game. The pledges, the cost of the game is going to be 45 euro for the Nestmaster, which is going to give you the all-in pledge for everything, and then the basic pledge is going to be 22 euro for the Forest Heart, the basic game of Gold Nugget, and all stretch goals. And that is everything we have today, which brings us to the, what do we up next? We bring us to the picks of the week. Picks of the week are going to be two things: the game that I think is most likely to hold its value, and the game that I think is the game that is my personal interest pick of the week. For my personal interest pick of the week, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pick, where is it? I'm going to pick, I can't even find it anymore. I can't find it. Where is it? Terraforming Mars. More Terraforming Mars is going to be my personal interest pick of the week. It's hard not to be. There are a bunch of campaigns over here that are very interested, very tempting as far as picks of the week. Games that I am interested in backing and playing in some way, shape, and form. There's a bunch this week. But Terraforming Mars is the only one that I'm actually backing because I love Terraforming Mars, and the idea of getting playmats and new content, new maps, new boards, more prelude, that just has to be my personal interest pick of the week. So Terraforming Mars is going to be my personal interest pick of the week from all of these campaigns. For the campaign, for the value pick of the week, let me just go ahead and find it over here. For the one that I think is most likely to hold this value overall, if I can find it, is we have, so it's going to be a tricky one, because I'm going to go with Barrage New Lands on the dual board. I debated picking Isofarian Guard. I am a drop less certain because of the increased price point, and that I'm still mentioning it though because I'm kind of going with a specific board in Barrage New Lands over here. But that dual board in Barrage New Lands, granted it's cheap, but I think that is the best thing to back if you're in any way on the fence between now, between later, between retail, between secondhand market. I think getting that dual board for Barrage is definitely the way to go if you are someone who's interested in the game. I just think that making a two-player version of something that is the number 35 game on Board Game Geek, there's going to be people who want this game. Again, we have, what, 4,000 people back in this campaign currently? Yeah, 3,500 people, and it's going to be much larger by the time the campaign's done. This is going to be something that is sought after. So that dual board, I'm going to give Isofarian Guard kind of a asterisk only because I feel bad picking a $15 like partial pledge as my pick of the week. But yeah, the dual board for Barrage is definitely one that I think is worth considering if you are in any way interested based on the value pick of the week. And that is everything, which means the campaigns next week. As usual, we'll talk about a few campaigns that are coming up next week. We have Mythic Mischief Volume 2, 5,000 people following the campaign. This is more Mythic Mischief goodness. I'm really a huge fan of Mythic Mischief. I've played it like, I don't know, 15 times this past week alone. It's an excellent game, a great game. They have a whole bunch of ways to play this. I am a big fan of it, of the game, of the expansions, of all the stuff for it. That's going to be launching this week. And then we also have Hoplomachus Victorum, Hoplomachus Pandora's Box expansions, plus base game reprints, all of this stuff for Hoplomachus launching on Gamefound very, very shortly. I hope to have content. Well, I'll have content on Mythic Mischief up for sure. And Hoplomachus, I may have content on some of the new stuff. We'll see. Time's going to be the main question there. But either way, that's everything coming up this week. And that is basically everything. That is your 2 back and not to back. Thank you so much for sticking around. It's been a long video. It used to be, once upon a time, way back in the day, 2 back and not to back would regularly be more than an hour. But nowadays, not nearly as much. Nowadays, it's usually in the 40-minute range. Crossing an hour is an exception, but it happens from time to time. But either way, until next time, my name is Alex Radcliffe from Boarding & Co. I hope you enjoyed this video. And as always, I hope you have a good one. The other day, my son asked me to pass him his chapstick, and I accidentally passed him a glue stick. He still won't talk to me.